Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Skippy and welcome to another video. This video is part 4 of the Guillow's FW190 RC conversion build. Part 1 was introduction, where I said what I was going to do. Part 2 was the building of the fuselage, the motor mounting and the tail sections, including the servos. Part 3 was then building the wing here with the servos mounted and using ailerons. I did consider doing undercarriage, but having had some successful use of the dolly that I've made, I've decided not to. These are the ailerons that will be fitted. See, that's that side. So this video is going to be the covering of these fuselage and wings, the putting together of the final model, and then the painting. To cover the model, I'll be using the tissue that came with it. I use then the Yoo-hoo pit stick, and what I do basically cut a piece of tissue to shape, so slightly bigger than the underside of the top surface, then glue along the edge, stick the tissue on it, let it dry, do the other side, let that dry for a good 12-24 hours, shrink it with a bit of water, and then I'll spray it with a watered down dope. For the wing, I intend on using 1 piece, 2 piece, 3 piece, then on top 4 and 5. I won't be tissue papering the center because I need obviously access for the wires to come through. On the fuselage, what I do 1 piece per section between the formers, and then obviously on the other side. And then as I get near to the front, it may vary depending how many I need. So I'll do photographs as I go. I probably won't do any video unless something comes up. So yeah, we'll get on covering the model. Right, the model is covered in tissue where it needs to be, which is good. Hopefully the pictures show you how I did it. Pretty straightforward. I've trimmed all the edges. What I now want to do is go around, and where all the seams are, all the overlaps, I'm going to use neat dope just to seal them, just to give them that extra bit of bonding where there may not be enough glue. I'll also go around the edges of the wings just to make sure it's all nicely stuck down. For those observant of you who may have looked at the photos, I made a bit of an error with the ailerons. When we look at it, I'll hold it up. When you look through, there is no piece of balsa to which I can attach the, not the control arm, control horn. So I need to work out which section the control horn is going to go in, cut that tissue out, glue in a piece of balsa, recover it, and then it'll be good to go. So I don't know how many of you noticed that I missed that, but there you go. It proves I don't always get it right, but at least I've noticed it now. So an easy fix. So first I'm just going to go around all the edges, all the seams with some neat dope. Right, the covering of the frame is complete. I've also corrected my mistake and inserted a bit of balsa there, which will go for the control horn. I've shrunk all the tissue with my distilled water, and it's made the wing a lot more rigid, made a really big difference, and the tissues come up really neatly. But obviously I need to cover it with dope so that it's got a more water resistant surface when I want to put the decals on and paint it. And obviously once I start flying it at the field, if the grass is wet, then it'll protect it a bit longer. What I've also done on the plan, it talks about having the decking done with card at the back here. I've used tissue paper just to keep it lightweight. Again, at the moment that hasn't been shrunk, that's just been glued on, but I think it looks quite neat. So I'm going to get on and dope the whole of the airframe. As I did with my Spitfire and the SE5, I'm going to airbrush it on. The reason being, if you watch the other videos, when I did the Hurricane, I painted it on, well, paintbrushed it on. You can see lots of air bubbles where the dope has got the air in it. When I then used the airbrush on the Spitfire, I got a much smoother finish, which is really, really good. The mistake I made with the SE5, I didn't do enough thin coats, so actually the dope didn't seal the tissue paper, so when I came to put the decals on, the tissue sagged and moved around a little bit, so it was a bit dodgy whether the decals were going to take. So this time with this aircraft, I'm going to make sure I do a couple more thin models. Again, I'm using Easy Dope, and I'm going to do a 50-50 mix, so 50% Easy Dope, 50% water in the jar, pipette it into the airbrush, and then spray it. I won't do a video of me spraying it. If you want to see that, look at the Spitfire Part 3 build, the Mark 9 two-seater Part 3. But I'll airbrush this and I'll do a picture before and after. Okay, we now have the whole model doped up. You can see I've repaired the battery hatch. It's a lot neater, don't have such a massive gap underneath. So it's all looking much better. Obviously I put in the bit of balsa here for the control horns. So what I'm now going to do before I paint it is I need to fit the ailerons, fit the wing to the fuselage, make sure the electrics work before I do that. Then I can get on with painting. She's definitely taking shape now. The wing is epoxied on, so it's nice and fitted. Obviously the ailerons are done with the control horns ready to go. Got a bit of decent movement in them as well, which is nice. Not too much. And yeah, the hatch is looking a lot better now. So what I now need to do is put in the fillets to tidy up the wing joints on both sides. And then, yeah, should be ready for painting. Well, hopefully when you build yours and fit your wing in, when you get to this section here, there'll be a nice flat butting up joint for the wing to meet the fuselage. Same at the rear. For me, I had a few gaps. What I've done is I've filled it using some sawdust and then super glue, and that forms a really hard bond. So it's now bonded onto the leading edge much better than it was originally. You can see that I still had the blocks of wood there nicely glued on, but yeah, I had some gaps there, but I've now filled that and used some thin CA. That's made it a real rock solid bond now. I'll just show you how I did it. Okay, so hopefully what this experiment will do will show you how I filled the gaps. As you can see, I've got the gap in the balsa here. I'm going to take my filings, the sanding, the dust, and I'm just going to shove it in there, fill the gap. Fill the gap. Some of you probably already know this trick, some of you may not know this trick, but if ever you have gaps within balsa, it's really quite handy. Now let's see what we'll do. We'll just put that in there to show you that it's nice and soft. And then what we do, we get the thin CA which we've got here. Just going to drop it in, a few drops. Hear it reacting and steaming. And then what you'll see, that's nice and solid now. You scrape off the loose bit where it didn't get through. See, that's solid. So that's how you can fill gaps if you get gaps in between your balsa. Look at that, that's rock solid now. Nothing's going to break that apart easily. There we go. Okay, I apologise for what appears to be a bit of a jump in where I was in my last video clip to where I am now. As you can see, the model is now well, it's built. Just needs to have the canopy put on and painted. So what I've done since the last clip, obviously I've glued the wing to the fuselage. I've now put in the wing fillets. To do that I used some very thin foam board because I find that better than card. It also seems lighter. What I did is just take a copy from the template, cut it out of the foam, stuck it on using super glue, and then so that I get the standard finish or surface finish, or try to, I then covered it in tissue as well, and then I've doped that over. Also you'll notice I've now fitted and glued the other plastic parts underneath, so the exhaust and then the cannon pods. So yeah, so she's all ready to be painted, so that's what I'll get on to next. Okay, so that's the Guillow's FW190 RC conversion complete. Here she is, all set up. Push rods on the ailerons, all the electronics work, I've checked it. I've even managed to fit the larger prop spinner on. The way I've done that, I haven't done the photo, apologies, is obviously cut it out from the kit. I then cut out the correct diameter piece of balsa that fitted inside, then hollowed out a hole, and that hole then accepts the nut that holds the propeller on. So that's then glued in place. I spun it up before I glued it on and it stayed in place, so that's pretty promising. So that was how I was able to use the proper spinner, which I think just gives it a little bit more scale. It's all varnished up nicely, enhances the colours well. All looking good and good to go. So hopefully you found that really useful. I didn't do a video on talking on how to create the decals or how to do the spray painting. I've done that in other videos. I've actually got a video specifically for decals if you want to look at my channel and find that one. I just now need to wait for the right weather and then hopefully get the Maiden in. Hopefully you found this series of videos really useful. I've enjoyed making this model. For those of you that will be looking at the paint scheme, yes, I've applied some artistic license, shall we say, so it's based on various different types of German aircraft from the Russian front. It's Jaeger 54, I think it is as well, with the Grünherz. Again, I've been a little bit artistic with the markings, just for the aesthetics really, but I'm quite pleased with how it's all come out. But yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching. Thank you for all the additional subscribers that have come on to the channel over the last couple of weeks. It's been brilliant. I'm over 700 now, which is amazing. Thank you very much. Keep watching and look out for the next video.